As we know, the coronation is steeped in history, as is the route that King Charles and Queen Camilla will be on today. Jonathan Lee takes us through it.
Step back in time and you'll find the British Isles are a fabled land of lust and betrayal, ruled amongst others by the Romans, the Vikings, the Normans and of course the Anglo-Saxons. King Charles's coronation draws on the best of all of it, tethering modern Britain with its historic past. Everywhere you look around London, you'll find flags, but this avenue is significant because it's a reminder the coronation is about more than just Great Britain. The monarchy is linked to 56 Commonwealth nations. That's 2.5 billion people, around a third of the world's population.
When King Charles and his Queen leave Buckingham Palace, it will be in the Diamond Jubilee State Coach, fitted with air conditioning and shock absorbers. But coronations haven't always started from here.
In fact, at times the ceremonial route began right here at the Tower of London. With its thick walls, it was the perfect place to wait if you're unsure of the mood of the people. On Saturday, though, the guns along the Thames will only fire in celebration.
For those doubly unsure, there's somewhere even closer to sleep, the Palace of Westminster. It's better known as the Houses of Parliament.
Now, you might not believe it, but somewhere inside there is a rightly royal four-poster bed, already made and kitted out with its throw pillows in case Charles and Camilla want to sleep the night and slip over to the Abbey without any fanfare.
Compared to Queen Elizabeth II's, this procession will be short. In fact, it's only about 2 kilometres. Up the Mall, it will pass Lord Nelson and head down Whitehall, where the King might be wise to glance to his left.
Why? Because just there is what's left of the Whitehall banqueting house. Its ceilings might be covered in beautiful paintings, but in 1649, King Charles I was escorted out a window onto a timber platform. There, in front of his subjects, he had his head summarily chopped off. His crime, tyrannical rule, governing without his parliament. It led the nation to a brutal and bitter civil war.
39 monarchs have been crowned at Westminster Abbey. That's every sovereign for 1,000 years. No coronation, though, could quite match that of William the Conqueror's.
It was Christmas Day in 1066 when William the Conqueror stood nervously here at the Abbey, and for very good reason. He'd just invaded and killed England's king. Still, the now subjugated Anglo-Saxons did the right thing and followed protocol. Asked if they supported William, they rowdily cheered. But not knowing what was happening, the Norman guards outside thought they were kicking off to start a riot and promptly set fire to the city.
The days of brilliant banquets have also gone. In yesteryear, the royals and their guests would tuck into one almighty meal.
Dressed in his shiny armour, the king's champion would burst into the hall on his trusty steed and throw down the gauntlet, threatening a trial by combat to anyone who thought the king was illegitimate. Naturally, nobody did, of course. For his reward, he got to keep the suit of armour and a gold cup.
Coronations are by their nature expensive business, but none can compare to George IV's.
In 1821, George IV, past his prime and pudgy, was determined to outshine Napoleon. It's said in today's money, he spent the equivalent of 50 million Aussie dollars on his banquet alone. He also wanted to show off, so he hired Britain's most famous athletes, a troupe of boxers, to not just protect him, but also keep the doors of the Abbey closed to stop his wife from entering and becoming queen. All in all, quite a chap.
It's important to remember that the crown jewels worn today are more like replicas of the originals. When the Republicans won the Civil War in the 17th century, they sold off the crown jewels and melted down the gold. Republicanism, though, only lasted 10 years.
When Britain asked Charles's son to retake the throne, they had to come up with a way of recreating the crown jewels they'd flogged off 10 years earlier. Short on money, they settled on an idea of hiring the gemstones for the St Edward's crown. It stayed that way for centuries until 1910, in what was described as majesty on the cheap.
While the crown might glitter, no item is more symbolic than the coronation chair, a centrepiece for 700 years.
When Charles sits, he'll be emulating the likes of Henry VIII and Queen Victoria. The only awkward bit is the coronation chair's now covered in carved graffiti from tourists and naughty schoolboys. One piece reads, P. Abbott slept here overnight, 5th to 6th of July, 1800.
To see the damage would make a historian shiver. In a medieval city, the days of old make up the fabric of time. Here, some stories, like the buildings, live longer than their monarchs. Jonathan Lee, Sky News.